The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised. My steez, Matt. It's getting fucked up.
Your steez?
My steez.
What the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about?
My jimmies are rustled.
Oh, okay. I know what jimmies are. I don't know what the fuck steez are. I'm glad that you brought up jimmies though, because I know what it's. I do know what jimmies are and what it's like to have them be rustled.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. I hope everyone is enjoying the holiday season and getting ready to, I don't know, please stay at home if it's at all possible. But anyway, my name is JD, and I'm also here with Matt.
Yeah, I am here.
Kyle's not here because he's being crushed under the heavy boot of capitalism.
The consumer machine is keeping him down.
Yeah. Don't let the man get you down, Kyle. He'll probably be back next week.
Hopefully, that's going to be our last show of the year.
Yeah, and then we'll just go right straight into 2021. What fresh new hell awaits us.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about Tokyo Godfathers. It's a movie that I've been meaning to watch for years now, and Matt made the suggestion to talk about it since part of it takes place at Christmas. This movie kind of takes place over like the Christmas to New Year's span of time, so it's good for this time of year. Like I said, I'd never seen this movie before. I know nothing of Satoshi Kon's work. Like I've heard of the titles that he's worked on, but I've never seen any of them. But watching this, I gotta say, I was very pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, so it was definitely a really good excuse to finally check it out, because when we were doing all the Christmas episodes last year, we had made like a big list of things that we could potentially cover, and this was on there, and we didn't get around to it. And so when we were making some considerations for what to do for these last few episodes of December, we had a few other contenders, and then I remembered, oh shit, we never ended up talking about Tokyo Godfathers, and so
Yeah.
we ended up talking about it now. And yeah, like I said, good excuse to finally get to watch it, because it was one of those ones that I'd always wanted to check out, never found the right opportunity to, and now I finally watched it, and I can thoroughly say that I very much enjoyed it. I'm not that familiar with Satoshi Kon's work either, except for I have seen Paprika, and I only saw Paprika like I believe last year. There's a theater in LA that shows midnight movies, and one of the ones they showed, and I believe it was either last year or the year before, so 2018, but it's still fairly recently. But I had only just watched it then, and so now I've seen this, and then there's he has like a few other movies, his earlier movies like Perfect Blue and Millennium Actress, and I kind of have vague recollections of Paranoia Agent, because I remember that was a show that was on Adult Swim around the time when I was watching Adult Swim like a lot as a kid.
Yeah, I like I said, I've heard of some of his stuff. Like I knew of Paprika, I knew of Paranoia Agent. Never seen any of them, but I'm at least kind of familiar with it.
Yeah, and it's the main takeaway that I've got like from his work, just from the stuff that I've seen from the things that I have not seen, and now the movies that I have seen, is that really, as far as like Japanese animation goes, like his overall style was just, like I said, just going up against the stuff that I have seen, which is admittedly, not a widely varied list of things.
Mm-hmm.
He has such like such a very unique style. Like that's really one of the and honestly, like for Paprika as well, just but that's for a whole nother review, hopefully next year or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I looking at these character designs, like even though I've never seen those other movies, it was like I can tell they're by the same person.
Yeah, and it's mainly a lot of it to do with like specifically how they are designed, but also just how they present themselves, and how it is very the characters are very expressive in a way that I've only ever really seen in Ghibli movies, and that's not even the exact way. Like in Ghibli movies, like when they tend to express and stuff, it seems like very much like I don't know. There's a specific it's just very like Ghibli-esque. Like, if I mention like Ghibli to you, you in your head like what a Ghibli character looks like and emotes like and everything. And then like
Yeah.
for Satoshi Kon, like his style's like is very, I don't know. I don't want to say squash and stretch, but it's like there's a lot of like pull to the faces, like when they emote and stuff, and like.
Yeah, so the way I was kind of describing this movie when Mel and I were watching it earlier is that like it goes from being semi-realistic to cartoony like on a dime. And it like blends perfectly in a way that like you wouldn't imagine that it would. But I know exactly what you're talking about because it was something that like really stood out to me like the second this movie started, is just the way that every character's face is just such a range of like very interesting poses and expressions. I got a lot of that came from Hana. We'll get into like the actual characters and the story here in a minute. But Hana, the drag queen, like I felt like especially their face was like very expressive this whole movie, and I was like just kind of I want to like go and watch some like slow motion versions of some of these expressions to see how they kind of just like flow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the thing is like because they don't even all express the same exact way. Like they express in ways that are very particular to their character. A lot of Hannah's expressions like are very sort of they're very. I mean, all the expressions are very extreme, but yeah, definitely Hannah's like seems to be the most. And then like you've got Gin's like expressions are very like like very angry and like he gets like red in the face and like and of course like all these characters like missing teeth and like they've got like wrinkles, and so just because they're a bit older and they're homeless and stuff, so they're a bit worse for wear. But then in contrast, you've got Miyuki, who's like a teenage runaway who's still very fresh faced, but even then like she's like even pulling the same exact sort of like
Yeah,
she talks like I don't really know the exact term for this, but there's a specific way that in other anime that I've seen that like high school like bitchy girls talk, like they do a lot of like huh, like like what I mean.
No, I don't know the term for it exactly, but I do know what you mean. Yeah, she definitely has that kind of like snarky teenage kind of way of speaking, and like even her facial expressions. Like I feel like she does a lot of like eye squints and like a little kind of like squish face kind of.
Yeah, because she's constantly like doing snifflings. That like,
dude,
yeah,
I noticed that halfway through the movie is that Miyuki like she has like just a character tick of like just occasionally she'll just like sniff really hard, like she's like trying, like because it's cold outside, so I imagine she's trying to keep her nose from running. But she's like the one character that just does that consistently.
Yeah, and it's really funny every time.
I just thought it was funny every time she did it.
So yes, and this is the other thing too, is because my only other comparison point that I can make for Satoshi Kon's work is Paprika. This movie is of course like very much more grounded in reality in a certain respect, like in regards to just the situations they find themselves in. There's still like a lot of like sort of like oh my god, there's like so much coincidental stuff happening, like that's very like something that could only happen in a fiction. But then like in comparison to like Paprika, which is very much like oh my god, there is so much insane shit happening here, all the visuals, and it's all presented as like oh this stuff's like happening, like
so. Sorry, I was just gonna say that like there's no. I'm gonna say there's no fantastical elements in here per se. There is a little bit at the end where you can kind of
there's
maybe
a little
argue that
in there, like, and it's mostly presented as sort of like semi hallucination or just sort of like. Because like there's bits here where like the baby that they have Kyoka has like angel wings, or like when one of the one of the drag queens comes out of the bar and like she's got a heavenly glow about her, and like they're saying like, would you prefer my powers or an ambulance? And they go, an ambulance please, and like it just goes away and you're like, oh well, you're no fun.
Says fuck you to him.
Yeah, or something like that.
But yeah, I mean, so this movie is basically built on a series of instances, and I think in any other movie I'd be annoyed about it, but because this movie sets itself up as basically a giant farce, act that everything is convenienced, I kind of just rolled with it and thought it was kind of funny. The way how like they just keep running into the exact person they need to at that exact moment. And it made even more sense because like Hana, when they find the baby, basically said this baby has been blessed by God. So all this shit, you start to notice like all this shit happens around them that like should have killed them or just anything. And I'll go more into detail in a little bit. But this baby, like by the nature of having it around, is like I feel like you're supposed to be like that thing is like it's guiding or conveniencing them into where they need to go.
Yeah, like a literal guardian angel.
Right.
Yeah, and it was funny because I when I was watching through it, I did notice like little bits here and there, but it was none more apparent than like a scene where they are chilling out like in a shop or something, and then like they're forced to go outside because one of the patrons starts to try to brawl with Gim, and then like they make their way just outside and just narrowly miss like an ambulance like plowing through the building.
I don't know why that just like really fucking hit me hard when an ambulance just comes out of nowhere, because you hear the ambulance off in the distance like, okay, she's gonna be passing by, and no, it just plows right into the front of a store. And there's no explanation for why it happens. It just does.
Yeah, because the ambulance driver is fine. It just crashed. And he's like, call an ambulance.
His first thing he says when he walks out of the ambulance, like, can you call an ambulance?
Yeah.
So I guess that. Did you watch this in English or in Japanese?
I watched it on Crackle, and they had it in the original Japanese with the English subtitles.
I also watched it in Japanese. I know there is an English dub, but I wasn't able to find it.
There's apparently 2 English dubs now. So there was the original dub that came out, and then G Kids just put out a dub this year, like a new dub. And I did look on YouTube just for clips of it, just to see how it sounded, and it seems like some pretty good matches for the dubbing. I wouldn't mind rewatching it with the dub, seeing how it is. Yeah, just because the couple of dubs that I have heard from G Kids have been pretty good. Like I remember their dub of Ernest and Celestine being pretty good, and then I've heard, and this is not necessarily about G Kids or I guess more the fact that they were able to get all the or most of the actors back for the Lupin the first movie.
Yeah,
because they did the dub for that with like almost all the like the English actors from the Adult Swim dub, I think.
Right. Yeah. I think maybe 1 or 2 they had to use from like the newest dub, but I do need to rewatch that movie.
Yeah. But especially because when we watched it, it had a really shitty.
We watched it like when maybe not through the most legitimate means, but I wanted to watch it. So, but if you need any other convincing to check this movie out, I mean, not only just Satoshi Kon, who is like very well known in the anime sphere. This movie was co-written by the creator of Wolf's Rain, which if you're an early Adult Swim, you remember that, as well as that one of the head scriptwriters for Cowboy Bebop. So
right, yeah, I had read mention of that, and I forgot to write that in my notes. But
so you got these 3 people writing this movie. So there's like quality in there.
Yeah, and then as far as the actual like animation production company goes, this is is the same with all of Satoshi Kon's work is done by Madhouse, who I already kind of rattled off their credits when we did our Darkstalkers review, but just as like a little reminder, they are kind of well known for doing Summer Wars, Card Captors, Trigun, Death Note, Kirby Right Back at You, the first season of One Punch Man.
So one of these things is not like the others.
Yeah. And then they've done all of his movies, and they did also Paranoid Agent as well. So
So Madhouse is some good shit.
Yeah, totally. It made me think about how long it had been since I watched Trigun, and I kind of wanted to revisit that.
I started watching a little bit of Trigun last year, but then I got distracted because I started rewatching Outlaw Star instead.
Hey, honestly though, not a bad anime to pivot from though, because that's another one I'd really like to revisit someday.
Oh, dude,
too.
Outlaw Star was fun.
Yeah, just any of those like older like Toonami shows like those, along with like Cowboy Bebop, or like not Toonami specifically, but like Adult Swim and everything too. But
I have a shameful anime confession.
What?
I have never seen Cowboy Bebop all the way through.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'm thinking we might have to rectify that next year, because there'll be a very good reason to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I like the episodes I've seen of it. I've just never sat down and watched the entirety of it. So I think I've seen like the more famous episodes.
Everyone on the YouTube video, go down in the comments and talk about how JD should watch Cowboy Bebop for next year.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. It's just got like, bruh, I started watching Black a couple weeks ago. I'm like 60 episodes in. I'm like 200 some odd episodes into One Piece. I got like, and not to mention like American shows that I watch. So like,
Jesus,
there's too much shit, man. You know how big my video game backlog is right now?
No, I mean, I can relate on that front at least.
There's not enough. But okay, so getting back to this movie, the basic conceit is it centers around the homeless people. You've got Gin, which is this old alcoholic. You've got Hana, who is a drag queen, and then you've got Miyuki, who is this basically teenage runaway, and they kind of all just hang out together.
They find a dumpster baby.
They find a dumpster baby, like a very literal dumpster baby. Someone abandons a baby in a garbage pile that they're sifting through, and one of the weird, like funny, like I will keep bringing about like these weird little callbacks or like background jokes.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
So one of the jokes that really fucking killed me, and it was funny because Melanie didn't even catch it, is so the movie starts out with with them going to like this Christmas Eve sermon, which is really weird. I don't know why it is weird for me to see Japanese people celebrating Christianity, like straight up Jesus Christianity.
I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of.
It's not like I know there is a population of Christians in Japan. It's just weird to me. I don't know why, but they get after the service. They go get in line at a soup kitchen, and Hannah, who is a drag queen, is lamenting that like she can't have children because obviously she's a man. But she's like trying to get double portions from the worker because she's like says she's eating. And then, like, as soon as they get the baby later on, you see the lady, the worker that they were talking to like 10 minutes earlier, just seeing them with the baby. She's like, it's a miracle.
No, she said something like, "Oh, she was eating for two." Like,
yeah. Just like the cutting to that lady like on the street and her just like disbelief that has a baby.
Yeah, no, that was pretty funny.
Oh my god. And talking even more about it's like right after that is like Hannah's walking with the baby, and it's another one of those instances where this baby is like these homeless people's guardian angel, and she's like walking out into the street, and this car just goes zooming right in front of her, and she seems unfazed by it completely. Yeah, crash in the background.
This was pretty wild because I had to rewind it just because I thought like I missed a cut or something. But it was funny. I thought that it was Gin and Miyuki walking ahead of her, and they were the ones that got hit by the car.
No,
I was really surprised. I was like, "Wait, what the hell?" Like,
so it's like this horrible shit just keeps happening around them, and like they're just not affected by any of it.
Yeah.
But so the three of them are like arguing what to do with this baby. Gin and Miyuki want to take it to the police. Hannah, who is like obviously was lamenting not being ever to be able to mother, is kind of like, oh, this is a miracle from God. God has blessed this child to us. And and obviously Gin is like basically trying to argue like we're homeless, we can't raise a baby. Which I'm very much with that. It's like, if you're a homeless person and you find a baby, you should probably, try to give it to someone who can better take care of that baby. But
well, that's neither here nor there.
Right. No.
Yeah.
But this movie is just a series of events of these three trying to locate the birth mother of this baby, because when the baby is found, it's found with all these items belonging to the original parents. There's a key storage, a storage locker to go to and find more things, and they just keep finding more clues about where this baby's parents might be. They come across. They go back to the to Hana's old drag queen bar. Like Miyuki is briefly and almost like not even affecting to the plot abducted by a foreign gangster.
A foreign yeah, like a hitman or something.
Yeah, like this. Like, okay, so they save this mob boss from being stuck under his car because it's rolling down on him down a hill, and say, okay, well, hey, my daughter's getting married tonight. Come with me. So they go to the wedding, and it turns out the guy that the daughter is getting married to is the guy who Gin blames for all of his gambling addiction and like ruined his life. And so he's like trying to kill him. Like he's going to run up and hit him with a bottle. But then out of nowhere, this assassin comes up and tries to shoot the mob boss. But the groom like jumps in front of him and gets shot instead. And then the assassin just grabs Miyuki and runs off for a while.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just such a crazy like.
And nothing comes of that, because it's like he takes Miyuki and the baby back to his hideout, and then they're all speaking in Spanish, and they didn't offer any subtitles. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah,
which I think is part of the point.
Yeah, they didn't on my watch either.
Well, I think it was the point that they didn't translate it, because I think you're supposed to be seeing it from Miyuki's perspective, where she has no idea what any of them are saying because they don't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
So she's constantly just trying to like find words that both languages can understand. It's really even funny when she gets kidnapped by the assassin, and when they're like outside and he's like screaming at her, she's just like staring at him like, I don't know anything you're saying.
Yeah.
He's just rattling off Spanish at her.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a series of events that doesn't have any sort of purpose or anything, because it does give us a bit more of a story on Miyuki, and it's kind of.
I'm just saying it's kind of like one event after another that leads them ultimately.
Yeah, but the whole movie is all about events that lead one after another to other events, and it's all just happenstance and coincidence. That
yeah, it's one coincidence after another. It's like you just like, oh hey, we're looking for this one guy. They might happen to know this other person we're looking for, or might need to know where we need to go, and it's just one after another. And like, I'm kind of here for it, honestly, just because of the way that the movie presents it.
Yeah, because it's so ludicrous to imagine that like all this stuff is just working out like in this particular fashion, that it's like entirely fiction, and that's what makes it entertaining. Like,
right? Yeah, if one or two of these coincidences happen, I'm like, okay, that's just lazy storytelling. But the fact that the entire movie is built around it, I'm like, okay, at least you're being consistent.
Well, as far as like stuff happening though, that we did mention it a little bit ago, but there are bits in the movie where it's kind of like it's grounded for the most part, and then there's like little sort of fantasy-esque like scenes here and there, and it's mostly passed off as sort of imagination or hallucination or something. And but there is a bit like at the end of the movie that seems like it is legitimately divine intervention.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I'm kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, so obviously, if you don't want spoilers for the end of this movie, then either skip ahead or stop listening. Sorry, but Yeah, I totally get what you mean. The where Gin falls off the building and like they're literally about to die, but like this gust of wind just comes in, picks up the banner that they're hanging from, and like slowly drifts them
Or that
down to the
was
ground.
yeah, because that was Hannah. That yeah, Hannah's hanging off
Right, yeah, Hannah's
the
hanging
banner.
off the building.
Because that's the thing. Yeah, there's a bit where like they all go tumbling off a building like one after the other, and like they keep on dropping, and like Hannah's the last to go with like the baby in tow, and then like swinging off the banner, and then like it slows down and sort of just slows their descent down to the ground, and it's just sort of no one's really react. I mean, like Hannah is, but it seems like everyone else is sort of like taking it as like I don't know. I don't really know. But I mean, I guess in in the same way that the rest of the movie has been sort of presented as like like they've been protected by this child like through the whole movie, that like it works, but it's just it's one of those things where I guess it would have been really hard to kind of present that one in any particular fashion where it'd be like, oh, it's just coincidence that they went outside just before the ambulance plowed through the building, or that Hannah had stopped walking across the street before those other two people got hit, where it's like this one's literally like a beam of light from the heavens shines down like with sparkles and like slows the descent of the banner like So and it's that's fine, like as being like a one-off thing that happened right at the end of the movie, is sort of like a capping off of like
honestly, in the context of the movie, it makes complete sense.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's literally, even though it's like New Year's Day when that happens.
Oh, it's that
that
passage of time between Christmas and New Year's is sort of
right.
like a what's the word? Not is a liminal area that I'm thinking of. It's sort of like a liminal space or something.
Matt, excuse me. Christmas starts in July.
Well,
we've all seen the Rudolph special.
I guess so.
I love all the weird situations they keep finding themselves in. It's goofy and very lighthearted, but it also has
there's drama.
It's drama. Like I love all the different things with Gin, and I like that he keeps changing what his actual backstory is until they actually meet his daughter, who he had told Hannah is dead. Died like young from a disease.
Yeah. And then, so that's the thing with like the three main characters, is that they pay them all equal attention as far as addressing their backstory and kind of resolving a lot of the issues that they're facing. Because as far as Gin goes, they have like a bit in there where he comes across like a way older homeless guy who's dressed in his exact clothing, who is also like a failed gambler and stuff, and it's kind of like a vision of kind of what his future could be. And then like you've got the bit where he finally does meet with his daughter at the hospital, and you kind of see like, oh, his daughter is marrying the doctor that's working on Hannah, and like the doctor looks almost exactly like him and has the exact backstory that Gin was giving to Hannah and Miyuki about like the
Again, all these weird coincidences.
Yeah, and then like the stuff with Miyuki, and like finally coming to see her dad again once the parents that the baby is returned to get to meet them, and then like finally talking with the dad, and like and there's a whole thing with like her and Kat throughout the whole movie. That's kind of the whole impetus for her kind of violent reaction to her dad that you see in the movie. And then the stuff with Hannah, of course, like the kind of her history with like the other queens, and like how she became homeless after her boyfriend's death, and kind of like, and it feels like Hannah is the one that throughout the most of the movie they kind of talk a bit more about it, just because I think because she's a very vocal character that you kind of.
I was gonna say Hannah, like everyone does get equal amount of time, but I feel like Hannah is really driving this movie forward.
Yeah, exactly.
And like out of everyone, like I liked watching Hannah the most, just because they had like such wild facial expressions. Like just watch the scene where they're in the hospital and Hannah is screaming for lying to them about his backstory, and just watching the weird facial contortions they go through.
Yeah, like you could pause on any frame and it looks like amazing. Like
and
so that's
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, because then there's the So basically, like the whole climax of the movie is they finally do find who they believe to be the real, or I guess the real mother of the child. And that's actually another one of those scenes where it's like, it's not necessarily a background guy because it does get addressed, but it's like I only caught it like out of the corner of my eye, like last second, and I was about to.
Okay, so we're talking about the fake mom.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's the bit where Hannah and Miyuki are walking on a bridge, and like Hannah is talking about how like, oh, not long for this world, I'll step out of my shoes and leap off a bridge and see a baby's face once again, or something like that to that effect. But then like there's a character in the back, like on the other side of the bridge that you see is like taking off their shoes and like stepping up on the bridge, and like it goes off frame for like a few seconds, and then like Hannah and Miyuki realize what just happened. They're like, oh my god.
It was really funny because again, it's one of those things that I noticed, but Mel didn't. Is like they're like walking down the bridge talking about this, and I see the person climb up onto the railing of the bridge. I just starts like, oh no. It's just like what? And she's like, there's someone on the bridge. And I thought it was going to be one of those things again where it's just a background thing where you just hear a sound effect where like this person just jumped off the bridge and they're not going to address it. So it was kind of a nice subversion where that actually becomes plot relevant.
Yeah, where it turns out that that's the mom, or who we think is the mom.
And dude, that was such, I feel like an interesting twist, but like also kind of came out of nowhere. But like I'm also like okay with it. But yeah, you find out this woman that they've been hunting down to like return her baby.
She stole a baby.
She stole a baby. I mean, the reason that she gives, like, I kind of understand. I mean, there's no excuse for baby kidnapping.
No, but it lets you empathize with her for sure.
Yeah. Like her baby was still in the hospital, and she was so distraught and depressed over it. Then when she went and looked at the nursery at the hospital, one baby just happened to look at her the right way, and she's like, "This is my baby now. I'm gonna take this baby.
It's mine. I made it.
I made this."
Yeah.
And she just like runs off from the hospital with the baby. So there's something I wonder if you can explain, because maybe I just didn't understand. So sure. I get that she took the baby from the hospital and that the boyfriend that she broke up with or is estranged from at the moment, like, had nothing to do with that. How did the baby end up in the garbage pile then? Did she leave the baby there?
Yeah,
because it seemed like when she was so distraught that she's about to kill herself, that when Hana and Miyuki come back, like, happen upon her with the baby. So it's like, did she intentionally leave the baby behind and like lost it? Like she like put it there to because there was even a note saying like, hey, take care of this baby if you find it. So I'm confused as to how that baby found its way to the garbage pile.
I'm assuming that it was a moment of regret and that she realized what she did was wrong, but she didn't want to go back and face the repercussions of her actions. So she just left it in the garbage. And that's the reason why that she does eventually go to try to kill herself, is because she realized that maybe was not the best approach to what she was going to do, and then it was too late to kind of rectify it maybe.
Yeah.
But then the thing is that because once the baby gets returned, it basically just goes through the same events where, like, she's stolen the baby again essentially, and at the very end of it tries to kill herself again because she realizes what she did was wrong. So it's like she goes through the same basically set of emotions like all again, and like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think you were saying that it is kind of a twist when you find that out, and I feel like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it is a twist, but I feel like the movie is definitely better off for having that whole passage of situations happen, just because if they would have had it end like where it ended, like, I don't know that it would have been as
like they even kind of make a joke about it, because the group kind of gets split up where Hana and Miyuki take off with the baby and to find the mom, where is Gin is like goes off to find the dad, and that's kind of when it's revealed that like the old boyfriend's like, no, she stole that baby.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not hers. And when like Gin finally catches up with the rest of the group, he's like trying to like charade what he's trying to say to them.
Yeah, that was a really funny bit. I love that bit.
But I like that they even kind of make a joke about like, oh, this is probably where the movie would have ended, where like Hannah's like, oh, you missed our really moving finale.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely like. I think that kind of twist there at the end, I thought was really well, really helped the story. Now, I do want to say I'm not exactly sure how I feel about how this movie ends exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I felt like maybe they could have. I don't know. I mean, I was satisfied with it, but I felt like maybe it could have been. I don't know exactly what I would have done differently, but
See, it's like the ending of this movie is very much, it implies a lot without showing it to you. So so after all this happens, the three go to the hospital because after everything they've been in, and they meet the actual parents of this baby they've been carrying around, and they want to name they want to name the three of them the godparents of this baby because of what they went through to take care of this baby. But it's revealed that in Gin's pocket, he has these winning lottery tickets that he got from the dying old man who gave him this red sack earlier in the movie. It's like people would come for me, or people would think of me differently if they knew what I had. And inside this bag he gave Gin earlier in the movie, it was just like these winning lottery tickets, which I think were like worth like $500 million or something.
Was that okay? Yeah, I didn't look that much into that scene just because I only watched the movie shortly before we recorded, so
right.
I wasn't sure.
I only noticed it because the scene where Gin runs off to go find the dad because he sees a news report that the baby that they've been carrying around was stolen.
Yeah.
Right before that, they were making a lottery announcement, and they were like going on about how unprecedented it was.
All the ones,
right. Because it's just 11111 or whatever.
Yeah.
So when they're at the hospital at the end, Gin is like asking Miyuki to get him some cigarettes out of his pocket. And when she pulls the cigarettes out, you also see the lottery tickets. So they all say like have the 111 winning number on it. So, but the movie cuts at the very end where the policeman handling this case with the parents that had their baby stolen is actually Miyuki's dad, and then she walks into the room with the parents, and Miyuki's in there and stare at each other, and that's where the movie ends.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe they could have at least shown a bit more interaction between the two, just because I feel like as far as Gin and Hannah go, like they had a lot of their sort of resolutions to some of their stuff. Like with Hannah, went back to her mom and the other, the club and everything, and with Gin kind of reconnecting with the daughter and all that, and and I feel like as it is right there, because there was an attempt earlier in the movie for Miyuki to try to contact her father through the phone and stuff. But then at this scene is just, they sort of, they meet again and, they call each other's name and then it ends there. And I feel like that's definitely enough to end on, but I feel
yeah, like you were saying, I don't know how I would change it, but it definitely it leaves you on the implication like, okay, they're going to reconcile. And she's going to go back home. It's just, I don't know how I feel about how it's just cutting on that, leaving you with all that kind of guesswork about what's going to happen. But again, I don't know how I would change it myself.
As it is, I mean, the movie's ending is good though.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine the way it is.
It just doesn't end quite the way that you would expect it to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this movie is like it's really well done. I know it's acclaimed. I mean, this movie came out in 2003, so we're definitely not the first people to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
But if you haven't watched this, I think this would be a good. I think this was a good recommendation, especially for this time of year, because I mean, they find the baby on Christmas Eve, and this goes all the way up to like the morning of New Year's Day. So it's definitely got that kind of wintry holiday aesthetic.
Yeah, without it being like exactly like Christmas themed either, because there's a lot of this movie doesn't really take like it's snowy and stuff, but I mean it doesn't have like a lot of what you typically expect from a Christmas movie as far as the aesthetic
No,
goes. But I
honestly,
mean,
all the
but
Christmas
all the
stuff is like in the first 10 minutes of the movie when it's actually Christmas.
yeah, but then it's more so the themes of the movie that are very Christmas like. Like
Mhm.
at the end of the day, the overall theme of the movie is togetherness, because a lot of it's about reconnecting and with your old and new
Yeah,
families
and
and sort of
I think it's basically
being,
just
being
show.
kind to each other.
Yeah, and
Like
it's kind of bucking that, like, you need a traditional family kind of thing, because like Hannah's saying through
yeah,
this whole movie, like, run around, but none of them are related. But because that they like the three homeless people, they cohabitate together in a cardboard box. Um, they just kind of grown this relationship, and they take care of this baby, all three of them together, and they're all concerned about it.
yeah.
I will say, and I don't know enough about Japan's societal structure. This movie really paints that like Japan has a rampant homelessness problem, and I don't know if it actually does.
I
It
have a
could, for
feeling.
all I know.
I have a
But
feeling that it's probably a lot of it was inspired by real sort of stuff. I mean, like I imagine. I mean, we live in America, and homelessness is definitely a major problem here. And I mean, but it's not
yeah,
to say that it's not entirely missing from other territories as well. But I mean, not being from Japan, we wouldn't know for sure without doing some
yeah,
research on the topic.
it's just weird because when Mel and I went to Japan a couple of years ago, I feel like I never saw homeless people, and I was actually kind of surprised at that. Which led me to believe that, like, oh well, maybe they've like kind of solved this a little better than we have. Which just yeah, like this movie shows that like they have a big homeless camp in a park, like just this row of like tarps and boxes just strapped together, and that's where all the homeless people live. It's like they have their own little like apartment row just in the middle of a park.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to imagine that it's definitely. And because I mean, it's not. I wouldn't imagine it's just there just for the sake, because it's
No,
a bit.
no, like I'm sure there's got to be some real world influence, but it's something I'd have to do more research into and see. Like, well, I could also ask some of my friends. I've got a friend that we've got a couple friends that live over in Japan. I guess I could ask them about their experience, but it's just something that warrants further research.
Yeah, yeah, and another thing too is just being like, it's not very often that you come across fiction where the main characters are homeless. They're
Yeah.
mostly just seen as uh background characters, or
Mhm.
general nuisances or something in some other ones. So it's nice to see a work of fiction that kind of works to humanize and I mean, to sort of prove like, hey, they are people too. They're just people that have fallen like, on hard times and stuff. And
Yeah, it even like Gin at one point in the movie is like just like going on about like he's garbage, he's worthless to society, and it even shows that like yes, they've a lot of them are just in like rough situations that are having difficulty getting out of. They're people, they have value, and we shouldn't just belittle them because they're not at the same social standing as a lot of the rest of us are fortunate to be at.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I do agree. I think it's really nice that this takes an opportunity to show a group of homeless people as protagonists, rather than just kind of a side thing, or like you said, a nuisance to whatever other story.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, but yeah, overall, I really enjoy this movie. I'm glad I finally got around to watching it. The story is
same.
really good. The animation is great. It's fantastic to look at. I would recommend anyone who hasn't seen this to check it out. It flies by.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a
But
half.
there's It's like an hour and a half. It does not feel like it in the slightest. Like it's fun. It's heartfelt. It's just an overall really, really great movie, and I'd recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Did you have anything else about the movie you want to say about the movie before you wrap up?
No, I think we done just about covered everything. So yeah, no, definitely check out Tokyo Godfathers out there. Check out Satoshi Kon's other work. I know I'm definitely gonna make a point to try to watch all those other movies and shows that I haven't got around to watching just yet. But I mean, he's 2 for 2 in my book. I loved this movie. I love Paprika, so I'm sure I'll enjoy his other work too. And I'm sure I can. Everyone else out there that's familiar with his work can definitely attest to the quality and work that he put into with his unfortunately very short career.
Yeah. Well, that about does it for us this week. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode, and be sure to let us know what you thought about it, whether this episode or Tokyo Godfathers itself. If you want to head on over to our Facebook, our Twitter, you can join our Discord, follow us on YouTube. You can find the links to all those in our show notes. And if you'd like to take us on the go, if you're not already, we are pretty much on every streaming platform out there: Apple, Google, Spotify, all that good stuff. But thank everybody for listening. Hope everyone has a great holiday.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I know Hanukkah's passed by the time this comes out.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, there you go. Be safe out there. And we'll catch you all again next week. Don't you worry, we're not taking holiday breaks. We don't have that luxury.
Join us for probably the last show of the year.
The last show of 2020. This dumpster fire of a year.
Hopefully we can send it off in a great way.
Thanks for listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with the show. Join our Discord to chat with us. Links are in the description. We'll see you next time.